I'm surprised at how often I've been getting this question: how do you get involved in Teen USA or America's Outstanding Teen? Basically, you just enter. Pageants are a business, and pageant directors need contestants. They're looking for you to enter. They want you to be there. Each is a little bit different though in terms of how you get to your state pageant. For Teen USA, you can directly enter the state pageant. You can actually directly enter the America State Pageant as well, but you would be entering as an at-large contestant, meaning you don't have an official local title that you won. In America, you can still compete as a teen and go straight to the state pageant, or you can win a local pageant and then go to the state pageant, unlike the Miss Division where you have to win a local title to compete at state. Now, if you want to compete for the national titles of these pageant systems, you have to win a state pageant. There's no way around that. In terms of the general application, usually it's a pretty easy application just to be accepted into these systems. For USA, for the local titles, you usually can just do a phone application, phone call, interview thing that they have them do if you're going to enter at large. But there is also the opportunity to hold a local title for the USA system as well, although it's not as required as I would say for the USA system as it would be for the America system. It's actually kind of less common to have a local title in USA. I would say that in terms of their state pageants, there are less local title holders than there are at-large contestants. Let's talk pros and cons. I think that there are definitely more pros than cons to having a local title for both of these pageant systems. Especially for the Miss America system, it can be really beneficial to have a committee and pageant director behind you to help you prepare for the state pageant, especially if we're talking about competing for the first time in America's Outstanding Teen. There's a lot to get used to, lots of paperwork. It's a very intensive process. You have to consider interview, fitness, talent, evening gown, and onstage question. It might not seem like a lot right now, but when you really get into the preparation and the marathon that it's going to be to compete for the state title, it can be a lot, it can be overwhelming, and it's really nice to have a support system, somebody other than mom and dad who's been there, who's been around the pageant system and kind of knows the ins and outs and can answer a lot of your questions. Now for USA, I don't think it is as necessary to hold a local title, but I think the benefit to being a local queen is that you've had the onstage experience, and also you've gotten to know a lot of the girls in the local system that are probably going to also compete at the state pageant, and I think that's great to make lots of friends. I think that's one of the best things about pageants is the girls that you get to meet. So if you're really looking for the experience, I really recommend to at least compete in a local pageant. There are a lot of girls who have done local pageants, not won them, and still went on to win a state title. So you don't have to necessarily win a local to do well at your state pageant, but in a lot of states, girls who have held local titles before do tend to place better at the state pageant. I think one of the biggest cons for a local title is just that if you don't feel that you have enough time to represent the local title to your best ability throughout the year in terms of appearances and what it's going to take to represent your local title, that might not be a good thing for you. But also, if you can't represent the local, I don't know how well you could represent the state pageant as well. Another thing to consider is the cost. If you really want to have a local title before you compete for the state pageant for either pageant system, it is going to cost you a little bit more, although it can save you a lot of money too, depending on the local that you're going to do. It is less expensive and typically free to compete for Miss America's Outstanding Teen. For locals, they do ask for donations for the Children's Miracle Network, but that's not an actual sponsorship fee for you because technically Miss America is a nonprofit. Versus USA, it does cost more money. You're looking at around $200 to $400 for an entry fee for a local pageant, but there are huge benefits to that. If you do win that local title, they can pay your state registration fee. You might get a lot of sponsors as well to help you with your gown, your swimsuit, your hair and makeup lessons, your walking lessons. I've gotten to benefit from a lot of those things because I've held a local title for USA, and that can be really great. But if you are set on having a local title to compete for a state pageant, you might get through a pageant season and have competed for 10 local pageants and never won one, when what you could have been doing is using all of that money to get a killer gown and get great coaching for the state pageant. So you kind of have to really weigh your options and figure out what's important to you when you want to go and compete for that state title, where you are personally. Like if you've never done a pageant before, you might want to do a local to get a taste of that pageant system. But if you've done lots of pageants before, held titles for things like NAM or High School America or just other things like that, you might not feel that you need a local title to do well at the state pageant. Those are some of my thoughts and advice in terms of Miss America's Outstanding Teen and Miss Teen USA. If you guys have questions, comments, thoughts, advice for other girls, please leave those in the comments below. Also be sure to follow me on Instagram at Pageant Access and at Daniwalker. I love hearing from all of you. You guys can also tweet me at Daniwalker Music or like my Facebook pages, Daniwalker and Pageant Access. Don't forget to subscribe to this channel and give this video a thumbs up, and also tune in for next week's video.